Yesterday we learned how to add and subtract polynomials, which when you add and subtract polynomials, they must be like terms. Yes?
Yeah.
What does it mean to be a like term? The base has to be the same and the exponent. Now today we are going to multiply polynomials. This is where you're going to follow your power of exponent rules. Okay? You're going to follow your power of exponent rules. You can combine when you're multiplying. They do not have to be alike. So it's just like distributive property. So right up here, I want you to write, we are going to do distributive property. But to do distributive property, you have to know your product of powers exponent rule because we're going to multiply across the parentheses. So write this down. When you have the same base and you're multiplying, you keep the base and do what with the exponents? And add the exponents. Now today we're going to do a monomial on the outside of the parentheses, so one term, and then times multiple terms on the inside of the parentheses, okay? All right, so let's get started. Look at the first example. You are going to take x and multiply it by everything in the parentheses. And you're just going to keep the sign that goes in the middle. So what is x times 5x? 5x squared. Because basically this has a coefficient of 1. And 1 times 5 is 5. And x times x is x squared. Yes? All right, keep your plus sign. What does this have a coefficient of? Coefficient. 1. I didn't say exponent. So 1 times 1 is 1. And if you don't want to write a 1 coefficient, you don't have to, but you can. And x times x squared is x cubed. Now, again, you could put a 1 in front of that as the coefficient. You just don't have to. And that's it. That's your answer. There's nothing to combine. Easy? All right, let's do the next one. We're going to do negative 2xy times 2y and negative 2xy times 4x squared. So I'm going to do negative 2 times 2, which is negative 4. X has nothing to combine with, so I just write x. But what is y times y? Y squared. Now, you can keep the plus sign if you want to. Or you can realize this is negative 2 times positive 4, which is what? So it's going to be negative 8 or minus 8. So you could either write minus 8 or you could write what? Plus negative 8. That's the only things you could write. All right. What is x times x squared? X cubed. And y has nothing to combine with, so I just write it. So I'm going to show y'all. You don't have to write both of these. You also could have written it like this. Are these the exact same thing? Yes, and I don't care which way you do it. I'm going to do it like this. Okay? All right, moving on to the next one. Now, first semester, when I taught you distributive property, I taught you to change any subtraction signs to a plus negative, yes? You are now more advanced into algebra. If you still need to do that, I highly suggest it. But at this point, I'm hoping that you understand that a subtraction sign assigns the number a negative value. Does that make sense? So if you're to the point where you don't need to change, then you don't have to. It's totally up to you. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm going to distribute negative 2g to g squared. What is negative 2 times 1? Negative 2. What is g to the first power times g to the second power? G cubed. Now on this next one, this is where you're realizing this is negative 2 times what? Times negative 2. Now again, if you needed to, you could change to clearly see that that was a negative. Negative 2 times negative 2 is? Positive 4, so you put a plus sign. Positive 4. G times G is? g squared. Okay, now what is negative 2 times 2? So minus 4 and keep your g. All right, try the next one on your own.
On the assignment, would we have to rearrange to where?
No, we're just going to keep them in the order that they go
Okay.
today. You will have to combine like terms. Did everybody hear that question? Would we arrange them in order from greatest degree to least degree? And the answer is not for today. Let's just keep it in the order for we distribute because it's just easier to grade. But you do have to combine like terms if there's anything to combine. We just haven't gotten to that yet. All right, so go ahead and do this one. And check your answer with mine. Are we okay? Good? All right, let's move to the next one. What is 3 times negative 4? Negative 12. And then, now, y can't be combined anything and neither can x. So which one of those would I write first alphabetically? Alphabetically. X and then y.
So you do it alphabetically?
You do it alphabetically, yes. Now, if you don't, I would still count it correct because it's the same value, but it's the correct way to do it, okay? All right, 3 times negative 6 is, so minus 18. And then I can't combine those, so I just put x cubed y. And then 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, so I put minus 6. And y times y is y squared. Now, if I did put these in order, this one would go first because its degree is the highest, but we're going to leave it in the order that we distribute it. There's nothing to combine, correct? All right, moving on. We'll look at this one. We're going to multiply this times the first term. What is 2 times 3? 6. What is x squared times x? X cubed. And what is y cubed times y? Y to the 4th. All right, now let's do it times the next term. What is 2 times 2? So plus 4 because it's positive. X squared can't be combined with anything here, so I just write x squared. And y cubed times y is y to the 4th. Now I'm going to do it times the last term. 2 times 5 is positive 10. And then x squared times x is x cubed, and keep your y cubed. Is there anything that's exactly the same as far as combining like terms? No. No, because this is x cubed y to the 4th. That's x squared y to the 4th. They're not the same. If this was x cubed y to the 4th, then I could combine those two, but it's not. That's x cubed y cubed. Do I have that over here? No. So I can't combine them. Make sense? All right, go to this one. This one has 2 parentheses, so you have to deal with 2 parentheses separately. So you're going to distribute the 4n to all 3 terms. 2 parentheses. And then here you're going to distribute this. Now, what is the coefficient to this minus n? Negative 1. So I'm going to distribute the negative 1 to both terms in the parentheses. Make sense? 4 times 3 is 12. N times n squared is n cubed. Plus 4n times n is 4n squared. 4 times negative 4 is what? Negative 16, and I have to keep the n. Now I come here. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3n. And negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1 n. Wait, n, not just n, n squared. Now, are there like terms that I can combine? Yes, so I'm going to get my highlighters. The n cubed cannot be combined with anything because there's not another n cubed. This n squared can be combined with this n squared. And this n can be combined with this n. Remember that when we highlight, we highlight the sign in front because that's the value that it has, yes? All right, so I have 12n cubed. Now, because we're combining like terms, go ahead and order these from greatest degree to least degree. What would come next? The n squareds. What's 4 plus 1?
5.
So plus 5n squared. And then what is negative 16 minus 3? So minus 19n. What do y'all think? Okay, turn to the back. I want you to do the first step to this one on your own. So I don't want you to go finish it. I want you to distribute the 2b to all three terms. And I want you to distribute the negative 3b to all three terms. And then we'll talk about it and make sure you got it correct before we go on. Check real quick and make sure that you did the first step correctly. If you did, now take your highlighters and highlight those like terms. Now combine your like terms and order them from largest degree to smallest degree. So start with the cubed. Okay, check your answer with mine and make sure you got it right. Are there any questions? Okay, let's do the next one. Y'all go distribute it on your own and then check the first step with me. Once you've done the first step, check it. Don't look till you've done it. How did we do? Good? Mm-hmm. Questions? No. It's really easy if you take your time and do your strategies, okay? Now, we learned this first semester is kind of just a review, and you're not even going to have exponents on it because we haven't taught you how to solve equations with exponents yet. But how do you solve an equation in your calculator? Go to y equals, you put the left side in. y1, you put the right side in. Okay, we're not doing it in our calculator though. I'm just reminding y'all. Then you go to second, trace, option 5, enter, enter, enter. Yes? Now, we're going to solve these by hand because you need to know how to do it. Add a 5 right here just because that's what we're working on today. So pretend that 5 was always there. So how would I solve this equation? What would the first thing I need to do be? Distribute. So 5 times 2x is 10x. 5 times negative 1 is minus 5. Then put your plus 3 equals. Now what do I do to the right side? Distribute. 3 times 3x is 9x. And 3 times 2 is 6. So plus 6. Are y'all okay? Now what am I going to do? I can combine these. Can I do it all in one step, though, where I combine these and move the 9x? Okay, so I'm going to move the 9x to the left by doing what? Subtracting. What is 10x minus 9x? Just x, 1x. So I'm just going to put x. What is negative 5 plus 3?
Negative 2.
Minus 2 equals 6. How do I get rid of a minus 2? Plus 2. So my answer is 8. We're not going to do all these. Let's just do one more. Let's do the bottom right one. Y'all should be like really good at these. All right, so 8 times 3 is 24c, plus 8 times 1 is 8. Y'all want to do it on your own and just check it with mine? Yeah. Okay. If you messed up, figure out where you messed up. Put your name on it so I can give directions on the assignment. Did y'all have questions on this before we move on? Everybody's okay? Remember that you can check your equations in your calculator. All right, put your name. At the top of your paper, right, we are going to do evens only on the front and back. Just be careful because on the front, they're all on the right side, but on the back, it goes right, right, left. So, like, don't just do right because then you won't do the correct ones, okay? So make sure you're actually doing the even. All right, so on the front, it's really self-explanatory. You must combine like terms if needed. I'm not going to count it right if you don't, okay? So, like, 2, 4, 6, I don't think you have any, like, terms to combine until you get to probably 14, maybe. Like once you simplify it by doing distributive property, you have to combine like terms if there are any. Okay? At the bottom, you are solving these equations. I want you to do them by hand somewhere, and then you can check them in your calculator. And then on the back, I mean, it's all self-explanatory. It's all the same, just like our notes. Okay, any questions? All right, get started.